from the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State.
Welcome to Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm Adrienne Robbins. Mark Curtis will be joining us shortly. We are starting off our show this week with our conversation on the opioid crisis and combating that crisis. One of the biggest players to fight this crisis for our state here in West Virginia is obviously U.S. Attorney Mike Stewart for the Southern District of West Virginia. Doing good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously, your office is staying very busy. Tell me about some of the projects that you guys have been working on these past few months.
Well, in the limited time we have, I cannot tell you about all the projects. We've been incredibly busy. We have a record number, historic numbers in terms of new resources coming to the district. We stay incredibly busy. We work awfully hard, but we've been really focused on the opiate crisis, of course, given what we've seen in the Southern District of West Virginia. But whether it's physicians, whether it's pharmacies, we just shut down a pharmacy in Oak Hill, about a month ago, or drug dealers. We've been really focused on trying to make sure that we create an environment that's safe for businesses to thrive and for our communities to grow, and that's just critically important.
And obviously you have to partner with local law enforcement, state law enforcement. How important are those partnerships and making sure that we're all working together to fight against the opioid crisis?
Well, I think one of the best things we've done since I took over as U.S. Attorney is build these partnerships. That's what it's about, and we couldn't do it by ourselves. Federal, state, local, but just not federal, state, local here. I was just in meetings earlier this week with the city of Akron and the Northern District of Ohio to make sure we shut down that pipeline, those interstates that flow between Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. So I work awfully close with my fellow U.S. attorneys in those districts, but also law enforcement in those districts. We're just not a one-trick pony that's working in Huntington or Beckley or Charleston. We understand that drugs, for the most part, are coming from other places. So we have to be proactive, and we've got to make sure that we're doing our work in Akron, Ohio, that we're doing our work in Detroit, Michigan, but we're also doing our work right here. And we've been very tough on drug dealers. I will say, since I took over as U.S. Attorney, the average length of sentence has doubled. Make no apologies for this. But at the same time, we also understand that you can't arrest your way out of this crisis. I say to folks, though, we can't hug our way out of this crisis. We need to be very tough to drug dealers. They've caused great harm and havoc on our streets, so we have to be tough. We have the highest rate of immediate detention in the country. What's that mean? When we arrest a drug dealer, you're not going back on the streets and bonded out. We push immediately to have you locked up pending your trial or a resolution of that case. Highest rate in the country. So we're very tough on drug dealers, but at the same time, we try to get the message out that if you're somebody struggling with substance abuse disorder, if you're a mom or dad that has a child that's fighting so hard under this crisis, we want you to get treatment, and we want you to get treatment today. I tell you, I'll pull out of my pocket, I don't know if this will work for television, but I carry these every day, and these are the pictures of the kids and the people who have suffered so badly. And you can see that when I started in this job, it was one or two pictures. I've got stacks of pictures of beautiful people, not rich or poor, not black or white. This is a picture of America. We're in this together, and I believe we'll win this together. There's no one right solution to this crisis, but I'm absolutely committed to the belief that if we work together, that's community leaders, treatment officials, folks in the treatment community, the medical community, and law enforcement. If we work together, we will solve this crisis, and it's the beginning of solving the challenges of West Virginia.
And obviously, all counties are dealing with these challenges, but recently we saw Fayette County get the designation as a high drug trafficking area. A lot of people were confused by that title, but this was really something that they had to work for to get the federal grant money to help them with this crisis. Talk about your partnerships with local law enforcement down there and how they ended up with this money and what they can do with it now to continue to fight down there.
Yeah, so this is not a challenge just for bigger areas like Charleston and Huntington and Beckley or Bluefield. This is a challenge for rural West Virginia, for smaller places all across the Southern District of West Virginia, all across West Virginia for that matter. We work awfully closely with places like Fayette County with that new HIDTA designation, which stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. Now, there's some folks who will say, geez, it's just terrible that they had to get that designation. Every county in West Virginia wants that designation, but you have to have an existing infrastructure. You have to have a team of folks committed to working with the U.S. Attorney's Office and federal resources so we can combat this challenge. Places like Fayette County have done an incredible job, and we understand even in fact, I wore a tie that matches Alex Miller in Roane County, and I know he died on the football field, and it's a challenge that breaks all of our hearts. But you know, we're not divorced from what happens in our communities on an everyday basis. The opiate crisis is one of those challenges that we face. But we understand here in the Southern District of West Virginia, we're working awfully hard to build an economy. We've got to deal with the opiate crisis. So many challenges that we face. I play one small role in trying to fix West Virginia, but my partners play a critical role in that as well.
Thank you so much, U.S. Attorney Mike Stewart. Thank you for being here. I'm sure big things coming out of your office very soon.
I appreciate the time being here.
And we're going to have much more Inside West Virginia Politics coming up next.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
Welcome back to this edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. The opioid crisis and legal action has been in the headlines in the last week or so. We want to get up to speed on this. Let me introduce Rusty Webb. He's a Charleston-based attorney who's representing the city of Charleston, Huntington, Cabell County, and 33 other municipalities in West Virginia.
All around the state.
In the opioid lawsuits against not only Purdue Pharma but other drug makers. Where does all this stand now? We heard a lot of talk in the past week about settlement and money coming into our state and communities.
Well, first of all, let me caution that when people heard about Purdue bankruptcy, that's part of the plan. The part of the plan is for Purdue Pharma to go into bankruptcy. There'd be a $10 million to $12 million settlement.
Million or billion?
Billion. I'm sorry. Did I say million? $1 billion settlement. And something that a lot of people don't know about is that the distributors, which were originally sued first, the McKessons, the Cardinal Health, they have $10 billion on the table, and it's not really made the news yet. So you have about $20 billion on the table right now in settlement money or proposals.
When might, and I realize that the bankruptcy has to be done. They've already filed it, and I know there's a judge in Cleveland that's hearing the consolidation of hundreds of these cases, I guess. When might our communities, Huntington, for example, it really needs a lot of money to fight, the opioid crisis on the ground. When might they be seeing those dollars?
Well, when you're talking about $10 billion and about 50, 60 lawyers that have to put the ink to the paper, it's not going to happen quickly. What's unique about Huntington, which is a city I represent, is that there is the first trial is going to be in Cleveland in front of Judge Polster. First trial October 21st, which is why I believe a lot of settlements are going to occur between now and then. If for some reason these cases do not settle, Huntington and Cabell County will be the second case tried in 2020. And that's significant.
Yeah, because that puts us higher up on the poll here.
Right.
Theoretically, let's say Huntington gets $20 million. What can it use that money for, Charleston or any other community? Is it going to be up to their discretion, or are they going to be told by the courts where they can spend it?
Well, right now, I've seen nothing that says that there are conditions attached to it. But I happen to know in the case of Huntington and in the case of Charleston that both mayors are working on comprehensive plans for effective use of the money relating to opioid treatment and prevention. They're both working on it, separate plans, but they're both working on plans.
Now, can it be used for costs going forward, or can it be retroactive? I mean, these communities have spent a lot on police overtime. Right. They've spent a lot buying Narcan, the reversal kits, and other things. The expenses have been extraordinary.
That's anticipated. As a matter of fact, the formula that has been presented is that 15% of these settlement monies will be carved off for expenses for the attorneys and the back pay on these types of issues that you're talking about, not the least of which are regional jail fees that have just skyrocketed for the counties.
Yeah, they have. It occurs to me that not every community has filed for, I think you just signed up Clarksburg, but Morgantown, Bridgeport, Fairmont, those are some of the biggest cities in West Virginia that apparently have not filed yet. Is there still time for them to get a piece of the pie?
There is still time. I have researched it, and they have apparently not filed. If they have, I can't find it in any news outlet. There are the three largest cities in the state that have not filed. Every other city from Fort Gay, who I represent, up to the city of Charleston, Parkersburg, Huntington, Clarksburg, you name it, Bluefield, Princeton. I represent all those cities.
We're down to a minute, and I understand the filing fee is $200. That seems like that would be a good investment for any municipality, city, or county that has not filed yet.
I cannot understand why, if you have a police force in the city of West Virginia, within your municipality, that you have not filed to get some of this money. It is perplexing to me that every city has not filed.
Yeah, you've been an attorney for a good stretch of time. Have you ever seen anything like this case?
Well, no. This is the largest. This is the largest mass tort litigation in the United States history. Second, first, it may top tobacco.
Yeah,
it may top tobacco.
I was going to say it probably tops tobacco. Well, we're going to keep on top of this. A lot of developments have happened in the last week. A lot are coming in the next few weeks. We want to thank Attorney Rusty Webb for joining us here. Your website, real quick, if people want to get in touch with you.
RustyWebb.com.
Easy, RustyWebb.com. Thanks for being here on Inside West Virginia Politics. We'll have more after this break. Stay with us.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
Hey, welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. The West Virginia legislature, at least most of it, will be back in Charleston this week. We want to talk a little bit about that. Joining us now is Delegate Mike Pushkin, Democrat of Kanawha County. Great to have you on the show
again. Thank you for having me on again.
We're going to talk about medical cannabis in a minute because there's been a lot of progress on that. But we just saw some budget numbers that a lot of people are alarmed about in the state. The state, after 2 months of the fiscal year, $50 million in deficit. They are talking about, and I underscore the word proposed in capital letters, proposed 4.6% budget cuts across the board if the situation doesn't improve. Your thoughts?
Well, it's concerning, and it should concern everybody in the state. You know, when this governor was elected, I think he promised to take the state on a rocket ship ride. And since then, we've really, you know, the administration and leadership in the legislature has really done nothing that different. They haven't really done anything to diversify the economy, and unfortunately, I think that rocket ship's running out of fuel.
Well, I think back to 4 years ago when I first got here and Governor Tomlin was in office, we had 2 straight years, I believe, of 4% budget cuts. We were then looking at deficits of $500 million. The ship got righted, but here we are again.
Well, you know, I think they say, you know, do the same thing over and over and expect different results is the definition of insanity. And we in West Virginia, unfortunately, we keep doing the same thing over and over, and that's refusing to diversify our economy. And we keep, you know, tying our economic ship to you know, an industry that can sometimes be extremely volatile. It relies on booms and busts, and here, this is where we are.
All right. Well, I'll be covering the legislature this week with Adrian Robbins. We'll have a full report on what they do with the budget
forward
situation.
To seeing you up there.
Okay. Let's talk about medical cannabis. We had a huge development a few weeks ago when the banking decision was made. Elements Federal Credit Union will handle all the banking. How much of a sign of progress is that? How big of a step?
It's first of all, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up because that law was passed in bipartisan fashion in 2017. And had we been able to act it in a more timely fashion, we might not be talking about 4% across the board budget cuts, because not only would it create some revenue, it would also create a lot of jobs where you have more people paying taxes. It would bring people to the state. It would keep a lot of people in the state. We're talking about repurposing old buildings to use as growing facilities. Talking about hiring plumbers and electricians to update these buildings. So yeah, unfortunately, one of the reasons why we are where we are is we haven't implemented this fast enough. Now you know, I'm glad that the Treasurer has finally found a financial institution that's willing to accept the money. That is progress, but we need to, you know, the DHHR now needs to issue those applications for the business licenses, and we need to get moving on.
Yeah, so eventually, and perhaps soon, people who want to be growers, processors, or dispensary operators, or any two of those functions, they can apply to the DHHR for those licenses, but it'll be a competitive process, right?
Oh yeah, it'll be a competitive process. I think the DHHR is now working on the rules for that. But I mean, we passed this in 2017. This is something that should, in my opinion, should have been ready. We should be ready to go out with the applications, and we need to get bring these businesses to West Virginia. And more importantly, we need to move this forward so we can take care of some of the sick and suffering people in West Virginia who could benefit from this program.
That's a question I get asked a lot because I run into people who are cancer patients or have other some of the other diseases or disorders that are on the list, and they're like, when is this going to be available? Any ballpark ballpark guess at this point?
Well, we were told by the DHHR it could be a couple years. I hope we can move it faster than that. But I mean, fact of the matter is, once those businesses get here, it's going to take them up to a year to 18 months to get the product on the market. That's just the reality of it. You know, unfortunately, in West Virginia, there's been a lot of people who have just slowed down the process. I believe you talked to Mike Stewart earlier. You know, during the 2018 legislative session, we were informed. That's when we found out that BB&T wouldn't take the money. I think it's because they got some information from the U.S. Attorney's Office that they could be prosecuted for it. There's no other state. And no other state has a bank been prosecuted for this. It hasn't happened. No. But that's really what has slowed down the process. And of course, it's hard to implement anything when the governor doesn't show up for work.
All right, we're down to about 30 seconds. What's the next step in the process? What happens next year?
The next step is the DHHR needs to issue the applications for the business licenses, and hopefully we get some new businesses that come to West Virginia, which would probably provide around 2,000 new jobs to West Virginians, which is something we could definitely use, as well as increase that revenue, which we could definitely use, and help some sick and suffering West Virginians.
Well, we know there's a lot of viewer interest in the progress of medical cannabis in West Virginia. We'll stay on top of it. Again, we want to thank Mike Pushkin, Democrat, Kanawha County delegate. You're going to be a busy guy with interims this week at the Capitol.
So. Yep.
More of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break. Stay with us.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to our final segment this Sunday on Inside West Virginia Politics. We're going to have a little fun talking about some inside baseball stuff here in the broadcasting industry. I want to introduce Tom Ressler. He's chairman of the West Virginia Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And Steve Mallory, a longtime advertising sales rep here at WOWK-TV and other radio stations. And you've been around in broadcasting a long time, Steve.
Yes, have been.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit. First of all, the induction ceremony for the next group of the next inductees in the West Virginia Broadcasters Hall of Fame is Saturday night, September 28th in Huntington. Tell us about the event.
Well, it's an event we started in 2006 to recognize the exceptional broadcasters in West Virginia and the tri-state area. We have a little reception beginning at 5 and then a live radio show and TV show of the induction ceremony where we bring each one of the inductees in and they receive a plaque and have times to say their thank yous.
I want to mention the 6 inductees, too. Charlie Coleman Jr., Kirk McCall, Greg Kinode, Rick Robinson, the legendary radio voice Al Woody, and our good friend Steve Mallory is being inducted. That's why he's here on the show today.
I was going to say, Steve, obviously one of the inductees. What an honor. Do you look back at your career when something like this happens, and is there a moment that sticks out for you?
You know, I ran into an old friend of mine that actually gave me the start in this business. And, I look back on that, and then again, I don't look back because you have to move forward, and I've done that, and it's been such a rewarding career, being in broadcast, and especially being at WOWK-TV.
I want to mention we have had within WOWK-TV and our whole Nexstar Media Group 5 stations here in West Virginia. We've had numerous inductees. Spencer Atkins, our chief meteorologist, assignment manager Rick Johnson, Brenda Danehart, the longtime news director at WTRF Channel 7 in Wheeling, Perry Sook, our chairman of the board, CEO, president of the company, and the guy that started Nexstar and got it to where it is today. So we've had quite a few, and we're looking forward to being there to honor these folks. Broadcasting is a fun business, isn't it?
It is a fun business, and it's been fun for me to listen to all the stories of these broadcasters, some who started as early as their teenage years in broadcasting. It's just a great event, and it's good to see all the broadcasters that have been inducted come back. It's become kind of a reunion for them each year.
It is fun. We should mention we are going to live stream it on WOWKTV.com as well as on our Facebook page. Some of our other Nexstar stations may be doing the same thing. We'll find out about that. But Metro News Radio also does the live hour old-time radio show, which is fun.
Right.
You said it's kind of like a reunion out there. Obviously, it's rare that we get all the broadcasters to have the same night off. So has this become kind of an event where people continuously come back even years after they may have left the state?
That is true. We have several that travel great distance to come back for this. And one of our committee members, Mike Buxer, who lives in South Carolina now, tries to come back every year for it.
We're talking about the live streaming of this MRTWV.org is the Museum of Radio and Technology over in Huntington. A really cool museum. Can folks go visit that?
That is open every weekend, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And we've had visitors from all 50 states and 30-some foreign countries. We've been there since 1991. We have everything from crystal sets up through early computer. It's really a museum of technology, all of the broadcast equipment, radios, TVs, and all.
Yeah, it's really cool if you like old-time television and radio and go back in time to when we first started in this industry. You know, it's really kind of cool. So if you've never visited the Museum of Radio and Technology in West Virginia in Huntington, go visit that. MRTWV.org. I can't even this internet
MRTWV.
I was going to say, we're running out of time, but let's get back to one of the inductees. And I just want to hear, when did you hear about this? And were you surprised that you're going to be one of 6 inductees? And
this was just a great surprise. Our general manager, Sean Banks, was on vacation. He called me and I said, "What do you want? You're on vacation." And he said, "I just want to let you know that the board voted and we have selected you to be as one of our inductees." Well, I was floored. And it's just a great honor.
All right. Well, congratulations to you and all the other inductees. Again, the event is Saturday night, September 28th at the Museum of Radio Technology of West Virginia in Huntington. You can find out more information and watch the live stream at WOWKTV.com. If you're in your car, it'll be on any Metro News radio station that night. Congrats to the winners. We'll see you guys next Saturday night.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Inside West Virginia Politics. Remember, we're a podcast. Download us from your favorite podcast service, and we'll see you back here next week.